Hey y'all, we're out here at the farm. You might could hear the train in the background. See how green everything down there has gotten? Definitely getting nice and beautiful and spring-like. But today what I'm going to do is get some strawberry plants in the ground. So let's see, first I'm going to show you where I took a temperature today. We're sitting right at 61, 62 degrees. Our soil temp 4 inches down, which is actually perfect for quite a few things. So tomorrow I'm going to get some more things in the ground, but for today, we're going to get these strawberries in the ground. Got stuff where it shouldn't be. In the old work truck today, I've got 100 strawberry plants, and these are plants that have already been potted, so a lot of times you'll get slips, which are, look just like this up top, but they're kind of dry and they might not have the green leaves yet, and it's just a root ball instead of having some dirt on it here. But I waited too late to get mine, so I had to pay a little bit more and get this version instead. These are June-bearing strawberries. They are Chandler variety, and that just means that I'll get one real big crop in the middle of the summer, and sometimes you'll get a second crop later in the summer. Just depends on how the weather does. But we're going to give these a try. I went through and I pulled, so they normally will have, and you'll see here at the bottom where things were connected, they normally will have a bunch of dead leaves, and these already had flowers and they already had some strawberries on them. So I went through and I cut all those off, because what I want is I want this plant to get in the ground and I want it to take off, growing roots and plant before it tries to flower. I want it to get used to its new environment, and I want it to get settled. And I also don't want it flowering while we're still having these cold nights. So I went ahead, took all those off. Now that might mean I'll get a little bit less of a crop this year, but that's okay. I'd rather have healthier plants. So what I'm going to do with these is, and I have a whole bunch of leaves and pine tags that I've collected, and I'm going to use those as my mulch for this. But what I'm going to do is pick one of these rows, and I think probably this crooked one right here. I don't know if you can tell see how crooked that row is. This one here in the middle. I'm probably going to use that one because it looks like the tractor had the hardest time with that section, because you'll see this one's nice and straight and the one beside it is nice and straight. So something happened here in this one. So I'm thinking it was a little bit harder to get lined up in that spot. So I'm going to put the strawberries in there so we don't have to worry about using the tractor in that spot. Because these will stay there. They're perennial, so they will stay in that spot for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, however many they survive and keep giving fruit and stay nice and healthy. So what I'm going to start by doing is taking my rake and raking this hill nice and flat and wide. And I'll probably try and get that about 2 feet wide is what I'm looking for. So remember, you can actually see it better today. Here's where the tractor tires are going to go. So I can't make my bed any wider than those tractor tires. So I need my bed to be about right here. So what I'm going to do is rake this hill. I don't know if you can see how it's very much of a hill right now. I'm going to rake that a little more flat, so that I can make more of a bed out of it and get these strawberries planted. And I will show you when we get a little closer to that. I've gotten this row raked nice and flat all the way down. Did make sure I kept my ditches on the ends, because strawberries don't like to have their feet wet. So there needs to be somewhere for the extra water to drain. You'll see this hose here. That's actually my drip tape. And this drip tape, I don't have it installed right now, and I actually won't be installing this piece because it has some damage down the end. But I was using it as a guide. So if you'll see this hole right here, and there's another one there, this drip tape is already has holes in it, and they're on 12-inch spacing. And I know I want my strawberries on 6-inch spacing, so I'm going to use this drip tape as my guide and get my strawberry holes dug and then get my strawberry planted. I'm doing this all by hand, not using a tractor or planter or anything like that. So this is the best way that I know of to do this. Some people will hook their drip tape up and run it for a little bit so you have the little wet spots to follow, but it's just as easy for me to look for the little holes in the drip tape. No big deal. So I'm going to work on getting the holes dug for these, and then we'll be back to plant them. All the holes are now dug, and all the plants are sitting in the holes. Now I just need to come back and cover them up. And when you go to plant strawberries, you want to make sure that the crown, which is the center here, I don't know if you can see it real well, that center is where all your new shoots come out. So that's where your flowers are going to come from, your new leaves, everything comes out of that center. And so when you plant these, you want to make sure that you plant them really at the same depth this one already is. You don't want your soil to cover this at all. So what I'm going to do, I got my holes here. I'm just going to push it down so that it's standing up, and you can see, oh, no you can't. Can you see down in there? And then I'm just going to gently take my dirt back around, like so. Throw out any rocks or any crazy things. And I'm just going to gently put that strawberry right in the ground. And I don't know if you can see, because you see that still sticking up, nothing over top of it. I'm going to plant them all like that. And I'm kind of being a little conservative in covering them because I'm going to cover this whole bed in leaves. So that's not going to dry out. That's not going to be an issue. And then I'm also going to add irrigation. So I'm going to finish getting these in the ground, and then we'll move on to the leaf stage. All right, so that's the strawberries planted and mulched. The next thing will be to add some drip tape irrigation to them, but I probably won't do that for a little bit longer. Get some more things out here laid out. Be planting some potatoes next, and probably some carrots and radishes and little onion sets, and bring you along for that and get this garden going along. So here we are next day, and I'm already seeing a problem with this leaf mulch. See these bald spots? It's pretty windy today, and the winds just blow the leaves away. So I think I'm gonna have to come up with something a little different, because there's no need wasting time putting mulch down if the mulch isn't gonna stay. So I think what I'm going to do, I still have a whole bunch of leaves at the house. I think what I'm going to do is actually mulch the leaves up with my lawnmower, get them to where they're real tiny and fine, and then put them down and get the irrigation in here and try and keep them wet. And I think that might fix the problem. But we're going to try that and see what happens. This obviously is not going to work. So back to the drawing board. I'm trying to decide which of these two rows I want to use for my potatoes. I'm thinking this third row here, or technically fourth row if you count that skinny little thing way over there. I'm thinking this fourth row because it looks like it has a deeper bed there, which is what these potatoes are going to want. So yeah, we're going to go with that one. I have my potatoes here in a box. I've gone ahead and cut up the bigger ones that I have. So these little ones are ones left over from last year. This was last year's crop. These are the little baby ones I just kept behind. And they're wrinkly and they look terrible, but they're going to do just fine. These are actually half of what I planted last year looked like this. So they will do just fine. They will surprise you. These sprouts coming up, that's actually your new potato plant starting. And this is actually called Chitting Your Potatoes. So Chitting is getting them started inside. Now, I didn't intentionally start these. They started themselves when they thought it was time to start growing. You'll see this one right here. It's really gone crazy and starting to even make some leaves there. So That's great. These are ones I got from local store. They were huge, so I've cut them down to 1 or 2 eyes, and they're already starting themselves. Cut them down to 1 or 2 eyes per plant. These right here are your eyes, so that's where your sprouts are going to come out. And so some people will cut those ahead of time and let them heal. I did that last year and it worked great, but I'd never done that in the past and never had any issues. So this year I'm just going to do them like this. The reason people will do that is cut them ahead of time and let them heal is the thought that it'll keep the potato from rotting in your wet, cold soil. Well, we're not wet. We're kind of dancing around the cold section, but we're not wet, so I think it'll probably be all right. So I'm going to work on getting these in the ground. What I'll have to do is take probably this sharp pointy hoe here that kind of looks like a triangle. I'm going to use that to bust open the center of this row and go all the way down, and then I'll come all the way back again. And I'm trying to get 8 or 10 inches down in the ground. If you can get a foot, supposedly that's the best, but I'm going to shoot for 8 inches if I can get it. So I'm going to bust open these rows and then I'll show you how we plant them. So here's my channel. See it going all the way down where I'm going to plant my potatoes. Now I went through and did a first pass with this triangle shaped hoe, and then I went back with a regular old hoe, and this is a real old one. It's been out here for years and years, and it's actually thinner than most that you would find now, which works perfectly for this. So what I did, sorry about the car noise, what I did is I went through first with that really sharp one, and that got me nice and deep, and then I used the hoe to go through and actually pull the soft dirt left behind out, like so. Got it nice and deep. I think it's probably I'd say probably 8 inches deep there. And so now what I'm going to do is take these potatoes and I'm going to put, probably going to mix them up a little bit. Probably going to do like every other one, do some of these that are already coming up and some that aren't. So all you have to do when you go to throw them in the ground, I'll show you 2 different ones so you have an idea here. So you just take your potato and you want to put cut side down, because you want wherever it's starting to sprout, wherever the eyes are, you want those to be pointing up. You don't want those to curl under your potato and then have to figure out how to come back up to the sun. So I'm going to put these about 1 foot apart, like so, and I'm just going to keep on all the way down the row and we'll see how far this gets me. Got all my potatoes down in the furrow there. You see I got a bunch I need to come through and flip over. I was just walking along with my box and dropping them in the hole there. I had 10 pounds of potatoes that I cut into 2 or 3 pieces, sometimes 4, and that did this whole 100-foot row. Plus I had probably 2 pounds of those little tiny seed potatoes. And some of these up here are probably a little too close, but I don't know for sure how well these seed potatoes are going to do. I probably will spread these out a little bit as I'm covering them back up. Now all I have to do to cover them back up is take all this loose dirt that I kicked out, and I'm going to cover them right back up, probably with the rake. That's usually the best way to do it. And you don't want to do a whole lot of stomping on it or anything like that. You just cover them up and leave them. Oh, but one thing I do need to do that I forgot about is I need to grab one more important thing. Let's see here. So I've got a big jar here of eggshells, crushed eggshells. And potatoes really like calcium. They need a lot of calcium when they're starting to form the potatoes. And so what I like to do is take some eggshells and I'll just sprinkle this all the way down. Probably use this whole jar here to do this whole 100-foot row. And that you don't, so I'm doing this right now long before they're producing potatoes, because in order for the calcium in these eggshells to be available to the plant to use, the microbes in the soil have to break it down and convert it into a version that the potato can use. So if you were going to try and fix a calcium problem, sorry about the wind, if you were going to try and fix a calcium problem on, let's say, a tomato plant that had some blossom end rot going on, and you wanted to try and fix that, and you thought, oh, for sure it's the calcium that's the issue, you don't want to use eggshells because they will not correct the problem quickly enough for you to see any results and save the plant. You can go ahead and use eggshells at the same time that you use a quick uptake calcium, like something like limestone, or there's several different options out there. But like I said, you don't want to use these to treat an active problem that you know you have. This is something that's going to take several weeks to break down. And by the time these potatoes are actually sprouting and growing and starting to produce potatoes, which will probably be 3 weeks or so from now, this will have broken down enough that those potatoes can then use that calcium. So I'm going to get to sprinkling, and like I said, I'm going to use, this is probably 3 cups of crushed eggshells, and I'm going to use 3 cups for this 100-foot row just because that's what I have. I don't know what the exact amount should be, but it's going to be better than nothing. So I'm going to get that down. I'm going to get these properly spaced. I want them about a foot apart, like these first 2 here. And I know some of them get a little close there. So I'm going to get these covered back up, get my calcium down, get them covered back up, and probably call it a day. It's gotten real windy. I'm not too sure that a storm isn't coming. And so maybe back a bit and let you take a look here. You see those strawberries have lost a lot of those leaves, but the plants themselves aren't looking bad. I am going to have to throw some water to them, so I think I'm going to hook up the drip irrigation for them, just for this one row, give them some water, and see if that helps them out. I realized while I was going through things that I never went and fertilized these other fruit plants over here. So I didn't get these blueberries, I didn't get the apple trees or the pear or the plum. So starting here at the blueberries, I've gotten the weeds and gunk out from around them, except for that last one down there. I'm gonna have to get a shovel to really get to that. That's got some serious grass going on there. But I've made a nice ring around all of them, and then I've got some Hollytone azalea fertilizer here. And what I've read online is that you really need a rhododendron or azalea fertilizer for blueberries. You don't want your just generic 10-10-10. So, and my guess with that is because this actually has, I don't know if you can see it, this actually has calcium and sulfur in it. So I'm guessing that that's why they want you to use this. So what I need to do, because these are big mature plants, they each need about a cup of this fertilizer. So I've got my handy dandy mason jar here, and I know that this pint jar is 2 cups. So I'm going to fill this up, sprinkle it around these trees. Now these little ones down here, I'm probably going to do, probably about 1/4 of a cup for them, 1/4 to 1/2, because they're so small. They're very new. But these bigger ones, they can handle the higher fertilizer. And with these cold nights and everything, I'd like to give them a little extra help there. Because if you'll notice, not only are they now putting out leaves, but their little blooms have actually opened up. See that there? If that'll focus. Well, their little blooms have actually opened up, and I expect us to see some pollinators here soon, because they're going to need that. But anyways, I'm going to get to fertilizing these, and then start working on getting the grass and weeds and stuff out from around these trees. Whenever you go to fertilize anything like this, you want to make sure you clean up while you're there. So go ahead and clean up around the plant. Give the plant plenty of room to breathe. Now I will pull this mulch, this leaf mulch, I will pull that back over top of this fertilizer. But you don't want any weeds growing or anything that could compete with your plant. So I'm going to get to fertilizing and I'll be back. So looking at these other fruit trees, these are all going to get the 10-10-10 fertilizer, the balanced fertilizer. And the way you're supposed to do that is you're supposed to use 1 pound fertilizer per inch of diameter of tree. So if you look, this tree right here, this is one of the biggest ones we have. That's about a 4-inch diameter tree. So I need 4 cups. Well, really need 8 cups because we found that about 2 cups equals 1 pound. So 8 cups of fertilizer to that one. You'll see this one over here. It's quite a bit smaller, and I actually won't count this bit coming off here because this is the piece that tried to come off of the rootstock, and I actually need to cut that off a little bit better. So this one is more like 2.5 inches in diameter. So I'm going to run around and get all these. I did the same thing as I did with the blueberries. I went around and made a ring, cleaned a ring all the way around them, pulled the mulch back. Now I'm going to get 2 cups of fertilizer per inch diameter tree all the way around here. And I'll show you how I would do that. So I'm just going to fill up my jar here. Alright, and then we'll go to, let's see. This one right here is probably another 4. Excuse me, this pollen's getting me. So I'll just take it. This is my 2 cups. And I'm going to go around the bottom of the tree like so. You don't want to do it right up on the tree. You don't want to burn the tree. So go about 6, 8, 10 inches out from around the base of the tree. Get your fertilizer sprinkled nice and even. I'll come bring another 2 cups to this one. And then just pull your mulch and your dirt back. Give it a good water. And it'll be good to go. Alright, so potatoes are all tucked in, as are the fruit trees. And if you're curious about where exactly the orchard is, you can probably just make it out right there beside the house, between the picnic table and the garden. But these are all tucked in, ready to go. We've got a storm on the horizon. I don't know if you can see and hear the trees. But a couple hours we're going to have some pretty heavy storms and rain. So I didn't pull the irrigation out to water these just yet. We still have some cold nights coming, some freezes coming. So if I can get by without irrigating for a while, that's what I'd like to do. So that's what I'm going to try. Hopefully, I mean, if you know anything about farming or gardening or even watering your lawn, if you don't do it because the rain's coming, then the rain doesn't come. But let's hope and pray that I'm wrong today, because these strawberries would like a drink for sure, and wouldn't hurt to get the potatoes going. But that's about all I got for this week. Was going to get some onions in the ground and some radishes and carrots and beets, but it's just far too windy to fight with them. So that's going to be for another day. I'll probably put them right here in the middle here. But I want to bring some special dirt to put on top there, kind of a seed starting mix to get them going. So if you come back next week, we'll get those in the ground and I'll show you how that goes. Might also be getting some flower seeds in the ground, I hope. Might be planting some corn. Dancing around with this soil temperature. We're at 61, 62 degrees, and supposedly corn will sprout then. So I've got the bug and I've got the seed. So I might next week get some corn in the ground, but you'll have to come back to see. But you can see on the horizon there, storm coming. So I'm going to get out of here, get cleaned up, go find some dinner, and thanks for coming along. Thanks for hanging out. If you got any gardening questions, any suggestions for anything you saw me do that I probably didn't do the right way, let me know. And I'd love to hear from you. Love to hear where you are, where you're watching from. I'm in Central Virginia, so I'm in Zone 7B. That's my gardening zone. My last predicted spring frost is supposed to be about April 15th. I foresee it not lasting that long this year, but long range forecasts saying we might see some in May. So you never know. You just gotta kind of go with the flow. But anyways, like I said, thanks for coming along. Thanks for joining me, and look forward to a long and hopefully prosperous gardening season. My best to you and yours, wherever it is that you are.